Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's meetup. My name is Jessica from the University Career Center, and today we have Leading the Way, Environmental Careers at the Forefront of Change. And today we're so lucky to have Dawn Crowell from SynTerra Corp. And she will be leading the small group discussion. So Dawn, I hand it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Jessica. Hey guys, good afternoon. How are you? I hope you're having a very good first week of spring week. Um, just wanted to let me say thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to chat with you guys, connect with you guys and hear your thoughts and questions, as you start to venture into the environmental sector. So as Jessica mentioned, yes, I work for SynTerra. We are a small business, small size, small scale environmental engineering firm based out of South Carolina, but we have offices in Charlotte, Cary, North Carolina, as well as Pikeville and Lexington, Kentucky. We take on large scale and small scale projects across the board. I myself am the PFAS practice lead, so I'm our company in-house expert on PFAS, those forever chemicals I'm sure everyone has learned so much about, hopefully. And I'm also an environmental scientist with about 8 years of experience. Originally, I'm from New York. I started my career in New Jersey, working in the consulting industry. Also went into, decided to become an adjunct as well. So simultaneously working in the industry and as an adjunct professor, at 2 different universities. And it was a wonderful experience. And I love being able to come back and talk to students about this amazing opportunity and this sector that's ever growing and has an ever growing need, for young professionals who want to expand. So I did create a small little slideshow, but what I'd love to do is be able to open the floor, answer any questions you guys have about, what does it look like? What's the day in the life as a consultant? Is consulting what I should be doing, or should I go into the public sector, or should I work for a nonprofit, right? Those are a lot of questions that I typically get from students, even from my former students, as far as what's the career path for me. All right. So first we'll start. I have a small introduction. I'm going to share my screen first. And where's my screen? Okay, there I am. Good. All righty. Had to find my screen first. There we go. Oops. Go back. All right, there we go. So, minimize you. Very good. All right, so wanted to take you guys kind of down the road of what does this look like, as an environmental scientist or geology major. So one important thing to know, it's a very, very broad industry, and there's so many different career paths that you can take to navigate through your career. So whether you are an environmental scientist, or you are a geology major, or you're focusing on public health with an environmental component, or if you are doing civil engineering with an environmental focus, there's a lot of opportunities for you. One of the key things, I'll say a crucial role, is all about understanding, what are the challenges, right? A new, challenge we're facing is climate change and sustainability, right? How do we navigate through this industry and be sustainable? How do we take climate change into consideration across all of our projects and anything that we select to do? And of course, we have a growing demand for new graduates, not only at the consulting level, but at the public sector level, right? The EPA, your state agencies, there is a huge demand for new graduates and for people to join the public sector. So there's a host of opportunities available for you. So please do note that. All right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is, where do you find the bulk of your opportunities, right? So generally what happens as new graduates, most new graduates enter the environmental consulting sector. right? So about 100% most of the time, that's where they go. About 70% enter the public sector. So what's different between the, private sector, I'll use environmental consulting as the private sector versus the public sector is one, economics, right? Two, experience. How much experience am I going to get in the public sector versus the private sector? Generally, you'll find that you will get the bulk of your experience in the private sector working for a consultant firm. And then later in your career, you can always transition into the public sector, bringing all that expertise and specialty knowledge there. There is opportunities for you, especially like, for instance, with the EPA, where you can work in the public sector and gain a significant amount of field experience working on some of their sites across the United States. And again, it also does depend, I will say this, on region, okay? So we're in the Southeast. You've got the Northeast, which has a little bit more of your, manufactured gas plants, former operations, but they're also shifting into more sustainability projects. You go out west, California, same kind of thing, focused more on water resources and sustainability and climate change, right? You go to Texas, you're dealing with hazardous waste, petroleum, soil erosion, you're dealing with sea level rise. You come to Florida, you've got mostly marine studies, you've got sustainability, you've got climate change mitigation. So each region has specific targeted, I would say, industries, right, that are the core focus of those regions. So you can really, as I mentioned before, how vast the industry is, you can really expand your skill set to tailor to a specific region that you want to focus in. I hope that makes sense. All right. So moving along, so one of the things, as I mentioned, it's very, very diverse and broad industry of environmental and or geology, right? I mean, you have everything from hydrogeology, you could, focus on, you can do environmental chemistry and toxicology studies, which kind of leans into the environmental and public health sector a little bit, right? So it gives you kind of a footing in two different industries. All right. So there's a lot of different avenues you can take. So whether you are an undergrad thinking about, well, do I just go right into the industry right after undergrad, or should I go from undergrad to grad school and then go into the industry, right? It really depends on what your core focus is and what your passion is. I will say that is the two most important things, because although the salary might be there, you have to love what you do. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it makes it very difficult for you to thrive in your career. So please keep that as a note. So next, I wanted to talk about some opportunities, and more specifically, just kind of diving down a little bit as to where we're seeing our growing demands, right? So research and innovation is, R&D is a really, really huge industry right now, not only under the PFAS sector, but, things like for dioxin, things for remedial strategies for saltwater intrusion in the Caribbean, or, in Miami, where they're dealing with consistent flooding, right? Also, R&D is needed to address sea level rise. How are we going to manage our coastal communities as time progresses forward? Of course, sustainable energy is a big deal, transitioning us from a fossil fuel dependent society to a more green, efficient, sustainable city, like New York is really known for that. California, Charlotte is starting. I think Charlotte just received about a $20 million grant from Bloomberg to develop a sustainable city in Charlotte. So we're next on the map, to be kind of the forefront of the Southeast to develop the sustainable cities. Another thing is, natural resources management is so important. In addition to with environmental consulting, I would say The biggest thing is we need CAD people, we need GIS people, we need people who want to learn and understand the skills that it takes to be an environmental scientist and or geologist, to understand the regulation. What does it mean? How do I interpret it? How does it apply to my project? These are all key skills that you'll learn and are things that are also needed in the industry also. So I'm going to take a question really quick. I see there's a question here in the chat, if that's okay. So in the chat we go, oh, any questions? Okay, no questions as of yet. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'd love to hear your questions and get some ideas as to where are you guys thinking? Are you all undergrads looking for an opportunity in the industry upon graduation, or are you also considering, well, maybe I'd like to go to grad school before I go into the industry, and deciding, is that a great idea? Side note, I'm gonna kind of go back to that really quickly about undergrad and then grad, and of course undergrad to industry. So my pathway was I attended school and attended New Jersey City University and majored in geoscience with a specialization in environmental science and geochemistry. And initially I walked in the door saying, okay, I'm going to get my bachelor's and I'm going to go to school and get my master's degree in, geology, and then I'm going to enter the industry. Well, it kind of went different. Instead, I completed my bachelor's degree, and then in December of my graduate year, I received an opportunity to work for the private sector. So I started working for TRC in New Jersey. And during that time period, I realized, well, I do want to get a master's degree, but of course, what do I want to, receive my master's in? And first I thought it was geology. I honestly could have told you, nope, it's going to be a master's in geology. That's what I'm going to do. And instead I went to law school. So I was accepted into, Vermont Law School. I sat for the LSAT, did my application, got in, and was ready to go the whole path of becoming an environmental attorney. And, after some research, I said, well, I don't know if I really want to be an attorney, but I do want to have, this really strong foundational knowledge in environmental law, because it's so vast, it's so interesting, it's constantly changing, and it can be, utilized across so many different projects. And Vermont Law offers a Master's of Environmental Law and Policy degree. So what it is pretty much the exact same course curriculum that you would learn if you were taking your JD exam and sitting for the bar. And you have the exact same exercises of briefing cases, of, challenging your classmates, challenging their dissertations and their cases. And in the end, the only difference is you're not sitting from the bar, but you have the exact same knowledge and skill set as an attorney. And what that did for me was that allowed me to look at my projects very differently. Instead of just looking at, well, we collected some samples, we're doing some groundwater work here, we're doing remediation here, I was also able to tie in the regulatory component, like how are we falling in line with RCRA? How are we falling in line with CERCLA? Our projects meeting the state standards, the federal standards? What has changed and how does that going to affect our strategies going forward? So I use my experience as an example to kind of show you how, we might have this kind of mindset of how we want our life to go after graduation. And we can have a different opportunity or shift, right? Something, a little idea comes about and shifts our thinking to where we're like, no, I think I actually would like to try this first. I will say also, do not be afraid of going into the industry after graduation. And whether it's the public sector or the private sector, do know that it's okay to learn and see what this is like before you invest into a graduate degree in the specific industry. So for instance, if you're an environmental science major and you're finishing up your bachelor's, and you say, yep, I'm definitely going to go do, get a a master's in environmental management because that's what I want to do. You might get into the industry and realize environmental management is not for you and you don't like it at all. And that's okay. Please know that that is okay. You have the ability to change your mind, even change companies if you want to, right? And the goal with it, and I want you to keep that in mind because it doesn't keep you deadlocked into one particular sector, right? You have the ability to move through this industry fluidly because it is such a vast industry. And I hope that, you guys can take that away. Take something from that. All right, and so my last slide is here, where we talk a little bit about, again, the diverse career paths, impactful contributions, and sustainable future. To me, these are the benefits of being an environmental scientist. I have the ability to move through this industry, pick different things to focus on, become an expert in one area, become diverse in another area. I'm making a impactful contribution on communities, taking a property that is contaminated, revitalizing it and turning it into a public park or something that's resourceful, such as housing or something, right? Or a university or a school. And then also thinking about our sustainable future, right? So in a lot of my projects, I focus on sustainability. The products that we are using to treat our site, is it sustainable? Is it from a sustainable source? What's in it? How is this going to affect the community as well as the earth 10 years from now, 20 years from now? So it's a great opportunity. It's a great time for you to be in this industry. And I'm ready to hear from you guys. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions at all about the industry, what's your next steps? What's a day in the life as a consultant? I am all ears and I'm so excited to be able to hear from you guys. So any questions at all? Quiet room. Ooh. Can I pick somebody? Hey, Brooke, how are you? Brooke Petroff. Did I say your last name correctly? No? Okay. Well, Jean has a question. Hey, Jean.
Hey,
How
hi,
are
how are
you?
you? I'm all right. Let me take off my camera. Thank you for accepting my question. I am a senior student who has graduated at the UNCC in creative writing. I started studying before COVID, and then when COVID came, things changed, and we were doing a virtual, and then afterward, we were back again to the one-on-one class. So since I've gotten my degree, I applied and attended multiple times there on campus, the job fair. But all my candidacies or my applications have never been accepted. Sometimes they give the impression to have accepted them, but in the long process, in the course of time, so then at the end they say you've not been selected. I'm married and I have 4 kids, and it's really a headache. And now I switch from the creative writing, and I am in Kado. I am doing TSL, teaching English second language to become a certified teacher.
Mhm.
So I don't know which avenue I should take to help me, be at the level of someone who has earned a degree. That is
Right.
my question here.
That's a great question. And you know what? I love that you're not an environmental science major, but you are a student of UNCC who is looking for an opportunity, right? So
Yes.
I would say this, the first question is ask yourself, if you want to go into teaching, what type of environment do you want to be in? Do you want to be in higher ed or would you like to be in secondary? So that's like teaching high school students, or are you interested in, working as a consultant or as a translator? Um, for the public sector, right? So there's kind of 3 avenues you can go with your degree. You can think about, well, maybe I want to pursue being an adjunct professor and teaching college students, right? Or if you have, I will tell you this, CMS, it's a very extremely large school district. I actually taught chemistry when I first moved here. I taught chemistry for 3 years at North Meck High School. And I will tell you, there is a huge, huge demand for teachers who can teach English for English learners. It is something that the district has a significant need for. Just like chemistry teachers, they're hard to find. So if you think and you kind of I would say, write down your pros and cons, think about your values, right? And say, okay, this is what I envision, and this is what I'd like to see my career go. And these are the goals that I want to see, that I want to set, right, to achieve. And then start thinking about, okay, well, how can I take these goals and find a career to match that, or at least meet me halfway, right? So if you love teaching, I will tell you, consider CMS. Um, it's a great opportunity. They love UNCC students. A lot of them go to their, they get their teacher certification from there. But I will tell you, it's a great opportunity because English, people who can teach English to English learners, it is a need, especially in Charlotte. If you think about it, the demographics of Charlotte is changing. You know, you have a large population of Hispanics, who are new English learners. You have a large population of people from the Middle East, who are, again, English learners, right? And they're coming into the school system needing these supports. So I would, consider that. I would take the opportunity, look at CMS and see what opportunities they have, and kind of go from there.
Okay, so then you mentioned the public sector. So do you have any link there for the
Um, I
translate?
will say with translators, what agency would that be? I'd have to find what agency that is, but there is a federal agency and sometimes even state agencies post opportunities for translators.
If
So
you have at the end of the session, you have my email. You can send it to me. I will appreciate very much, please.
sure, absolutely. Jessica, could you set that up?
Let me
Absolutely.
just
I
Okay.
will send John's email to you, Dawn, so you'll
Okay.
have that. Absolutely.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you very much.
You're
Okay, and then
welcome.
one last question.
Hmm.
Since you're talking about geology, talking about the environment, I think, to my little knowledge of environmental studies, environmental studies are somewhat, to a certain degree, related or connected to geology,
Yes.
because geology is very fast, broad, and within, I've never studied geology, but I know I studied in high school some, basic of geology. So to my knowledge, geology incorporates environmental studies. So I'm coming from a country which is most envied in terms of riches, the rarest materials, raw materials. And I have a project. I've already finished writing the project. I am looking for investors for the raw materials. So the country's raw materials fuel the economy of the United States. Let's say for the entire world, 99%. Because we have like 35, I'm not bragging, I'm sad and angry. 35 minerals, the country by itself, 35. And then you have the
Hmm.
other five others on top. It makes
Hmm.
for the entire world 40 minerals, but the country by itself has 35 minerals. So, and since you seem to be the right person in geology, if you have any connection for investment, I
Okay.
have the project already, but I'm just looking for investors.
Okay. Well, off the top of my head, don't know too many, but if when I get your email, I'll look into some people that I know who are within that sector. of mineralogy and geology from that perspective. And to your point, yes, so geology is very broad. I mean, you can have a geology degree and go into, you know, petroleum industry and thrive, right? Because if you're doing offshore rig drilling, you've got to know the geology of the area. So geology, yes, does particularly pertain to rocks, right? The stratigraphy of rocks, natural occurrences as far as, you know, earthquakes, you know, how does the earth shift and change and the formation of rocks, but it does tie heavily into the environmental component because, you know, a lot of times we say in geology, we're just looking at rocks and minerals, but in reality, it ties directly into how the earth functions on a day-to-day, you know, and it's just a broad understanding. Great questions. And yes, Jean, I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions or thoughts? I think Veha, please tell me I said your name right. Vedh. I think you had your camera on. How do you pronounce your name?
Ved.
Ved. Okay.
H is silent.
Ved. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Thank
correct.
you.
I joined a little bit late, but I did read up on what this career meetup was about. Personally, I'm working towards a biology major right now. I'm still exploring my interests in the field, but I've been leaning towards conservation efforts of endangered and extinct animals. And I've applied to internships at communities like or companies like Colossal and projects that are working towards conserving these endangered and extinct animals. And I wanted to know if this is, I just wanted to know if this is the right place to be for something like that and learn about where I can find more connections in that field.
Yeah. Actually, what you're doing is great. So to answer your first question, if that is your passion, then you're in the right place, right? That's the first thing. The second point is to your second question is that where can you, I'm guessing is where can you go with this? So Bureau of Land Management is the federal jurisdiction that manages everything from endangered species to threatened species, listing them on the register, maintaining our federal lands, as well as protecting species that exist on those federal lands. Also the distribution of federal lands. Of course, you have Fish and Wildlife, which also is kind of like your secondary level of federal agency that supports and manages, you know, everything from biota to every single species on Earth, plant, animal, fish, everything, right? So you are in the right place if that's your passion. There is a lot of opportunities at the federal level. The EPA also does offer programs for new graduates to actually do internships specific to whether it is, you know, specific to EPA things such as environmental studies, or can also be threatened and endangered species assessments. The third thing is, if you'd ever want to drive down the legal pathway, is you can, you know, get your law degree in environmental law. And what that does is you can specialize in threatened and environmental species. There's an entire law that an entire law textbook about this thick that gives you the entire regulatory framework for these practices. If you would like to get experience in seeing if this is something you'd like to do, there's an organization that I actually work with, I'm affiliated with. We do permit reviews. So review permits that are being that are presented to the Bureau of Land Management and or Fish or Wildlife. And, you know, permits are required to ensure that whatever development that's happening is not going to affect an endangered or threatened species. And we do these permit reviews and we provide comments during the open comment period. So if you're interested, I can definitely put you in contact with the, you know, with this company. It's a nonprofit. You know, we do this for volunteer. Again, I do it just for experience and being able to interpret permits and what does this look like and keeping up with regulation. But if you'd like, I can share that information with you and you can kind of see, like, is this really for me or should I be considering something else?
I would definitely like that. As far as I am now, the only work experience I have in the field is cleanup. So whether it be beaches or islands, or it mostly be cleanup. So I'm looking into other places I can gain some experience in, and look into uh look into the field and see if it's actually a passion of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. You should do that. Definitely, please, everyone explore. Do as much volunteering, internships you can do while you're in college, because I will tell you, once you invest into, a graduate degree, for instance, and that's not what you want, it's like, oh man, that's kind of rough, right? You got to eat that thousands and thousands of dollars that, you may have had to pay out, or an opportunity in grant money, that you may not be able to get back, saying, I'm going to go back for another master's, right? And also you want to think about, once you start your career and you step into an industry, um, you don't want to feel like, well, I'm stuck because I want to do something else and they don't offer it here. So now I'm stuck, right? You don't want to ever put yourself in that position. So do take your time while you're in school and, explore. Brooke, how are you? Yes, I see your hand up. It's been up for a while. What is your question or thought you'd like to share? You with us, Brooke? You're on mute if you are talking. No. Okay.
There's also a question in the chat from James. It's kind of long, so I'll let you read it.
Okay. Hey, James, how are you? Okay. Okay, nice. All right. Okay. All right. Is what career paths, and so James's question is asking, what career paths and type of environmental projects would combine his environmental experience with construction management training? So that's a good question. So in construction management, I'm not too familiar with it. I do have a cousin who did get a degree in it, but I believe construction management corely focuses on things like, I think a portion of it is like material testing, strength testing of soils, and of course the structure itself, right? Building, the design, the planning, the management. So how would that relate to the environmental part is, part of construction design is sediment and erosion control, stormwater management. How are you managing the stormwater that's coming onto your build site? How are you managing it on site as well as off site? Erosion control. How are you managing when you get a heavy downpour, all the sediment that gets washed off from your construction site onto, for instance, a public right of way, or into a nearby stream? So I think those are the two main areas that you could link your, construction management experience to environmental. So I hope that answers your question. Great question, though, James, and good luck. All right, any other questions? Let's see, who do we got? Meadow, how are you today? I'm gonna go and pick people now, like true professor mode. Meadow, are you with us? Okay. All right, so thank you for dropping that in the chat. Gotcha. So Meadow shared in the chat. Do you mind if I share your question as well, Meadow? Is that okay? All right, good. So she mentioned that right now she's about to graduate with a biology degree, and, kind of torn between attending grad school or going into the industry before attending grad school. And so one thing I will say to you is this, excuse me, if you have an opportunity to go into the industry in your degree field, I will say go for it, right? Because you'll get the experience and be able to say, do I really want to focus on this portion of biology, right? Whatever that sector is, whether it's chemical biology, whether it's ecology, whether it's in a lab, whether it's working for a private firm, right? is this really what I want to spend the next 10 years of my life doing? And I'm going to use chunks of 10, right? Because 20 is really far down the road. And you'll flip by the time you get to 20 years. Trust me, I have. So, you know, do you want to do this for the next 10 years of your life? Can you see yourself doing this, learning, growing, and expanding? And if you're in this opportunity and you're saying after about 6 months, and you're like, you know, this ain't it, then there's your answer. There's an opportunity for you to say, okay, well, do I maybe switch, you know, from a private lab to a bigger company, or do I go into a different sector of bio, right? Is that where my passion leads? I think going straight to grad school is okay as well if you know for sure that, yes, this is what I want to do for the next 10 years of my life. I'm going to major and get a master's in biology in this specific sector of bio. And again, because bio is kind of broad, just like environmental, I feel like with grad school, it's like that's your niche. Like that's the thing you're going to specialize in, right? So for me, I specialize in environmental law and policy. That's what I specialize in, interpreting regulation and how I can turn around and make it happen and tie it into what I'm already doing. Yeah, you're welcome, Feniel. Nice to meet you. And so we're almost out of time, but I'm not going to keep you guys. But I would just say, you know, weigh your options. Really consider what sector of bio you want to focus on, and let that be your driving factor as to whether you go into the industry or if you go to grad school right after May. Great question, though. Anyone else have a question? Logan, how are you today?
I'm doing good and good.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
question. I was just sitting in.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts or a question?
No, I haven't really gotten to the graduate point of my college experience yet, so I was just sitting in.
Okay, so what year are you?
I'm a junior.
Okay, you're a junior. What's your major?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay, all right, very good, very good. All right, awesome. So, do you participate in ACEC in North Carolina? I know they're having a symposium coming up in April.
No, I haven't participated in that.
Oh, do participate. All right, it's a really strong, very good engineering organization. You'll get a lot of benefits, a lot of exposure. Make sure you sign up for it.
Dawn, what was that association again, or? I
It's
Yeah,
can-
I was about to ask that too.
It's ACEC. It's American. I always have to look it up, believe it or not. It's ACEC, North Carolina. They're actually hosting the symposium at UNC Charlotte the first week of April. I can drop it in the chat, actually.
Is it agricultural and science early college? No, that's
No, it's
that's different.
I don't always have to.
That's the first thing that came up when I Googled it, but I can look a little bit more. I just wanted to see if I can get a link for the students.
Yep, I'm going to drop it in the chat.
Okay, great, thank you.
So it's the American Council of Engineering Companies. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
it is. Yeah. So the North Carolina group is having a symposium, student symposium at UNC Charlotte. I believe it is April, first week of April, like April 5th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th that week. So if you are an engineering major, it's very beneficial for you to participate in this. I mean, the resources, the connections, the webinars, there's so much for you to get involved with. If you want to volunteer on a committee and learn some of the things that, you know, what's going on in Washington and how is that affecting the engineering industry, you'll be surprised how many bills are passed or on the floor that affect not only the environment, but the engineering sector as well, including licensing. So definitely look into that if you guys can, or at least sign up for the symposium. All right. Any other thoughts or questions? Yes, Cameron. I see your hand up. Raised your hand.
Are you talking about me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't. If I put my hand up, that was on accident. I
Oh,
apologize. I've
okay,
just been
okay.
kind of here to listen to the questions people have been asking.
Okay. Um, so I hope that you guys, I think we just have a few more minutes. Would love to, again, if anyone has any other questions or thoughts or organizations they think they need to join. Are any of you guys members of the Association for Engineers and Geologists? It's for environmental scientists as well. It's called AEG. No one? Well, I'll put that link in the chat as well. There is a student division. Again, it's a great place. If any of you enjoy, I will say, presenting papers, white papers or posters, things of that nature. It's a great opportunity for you to get experience there. ACEC is also a great place as well. Let's see. And, so there's some really great organizations that you can become a part of, that's beneficial to not only during undergrad, but also your career as well. All right.
And Dawn, is it okay if I let students know that they can find you on LinkedIn and hopefully connect you on there? Connect with
Oh,
you on there?
absolutely. Yes. Just
Okay.
do connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have other questions, I know as a professor, I know I said, have these talks, these little round tables with my students, especially my seniors who are going into consulting or the public sector. And, I'd get questions after class, but that's okay because that's the norm. But yes, do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions, if you need any resources, if you want to have a chat and talk about, I like what I'm in this major. I think I like it. I'm not really sure. I want to get some experience in it. What does that look like? I can definitely connect you with, companies that have internship opportunities. I will definitely recommend, if you're not a graduating senior right now, is get an internship. Like really learn what it is to do what you're what you're studying outside of the academic world, because it's completely different. What we do academically, it's completely different in the real world. The rules change. Everything that you think you've learned in the classroom changes significantly. How you do things is totally different. So definitely get an internship, connect with other professionals and ask, questions, as many questions as you have, just keep asking questions so that way you're comfortable with your decision about your degree and your path forward.
Dawn, are there any internship or job opportunities at your current company, SynTerra?
So yes, we do have summer internships this year. I believe this summer, we have a couple internship opportunities open at our South Carolina office as well as our Cary, North Carolina office. I'm based in Charlotte. We're kind of a satellite office, but between those two offices, and I believe our Kentucky office might have internship opportunities. If you're interested in mining engineering or drone surveys or geotechnical type work, those opportunities are there. If you're interested, don't hesitate to let me know. I'll definitely, pass your name around or ask as many people as possible if they have opportunities at their offices or other companies as well.
So students definitely take Dawn on our offer. She's being extremely kind and offering to help you. And she's very knowledgeable and has been in this field for a while. So she probably has a lot of connections. So just one more last minute to see if anybody has any final questions. Nobody?
All right, guys.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dawn, for leading a great small group discussion with these students. And students, thank you for attending. We will have this recording up on our YouTube channel, and Dawn, I will send you the link so you'll be able to have this as a resource for you as well. But please connect with Dawn if you have any questions. But thank you so much, Dawn. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very
right.
much, and congratulations to
Thank
all of
you.
you, and have a
All right.
wonderful end of the semester. Be well and have fun,
Yeah.
live it up, have fun. All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, great
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.